Hi, I'm Doctor Fluttershy, the project assistant. As of this video, I will be the voiceover for the project, while Imperator will continue to edit the video, the art, and script as always. But for now, let's get back to where we were last time. As with previous videos, this video expects you to have understood the basics and followed along with part 1 of this intermediate tactics video. Now, without further delay, let's get to it. It's tactics time. Now, before we actually begin, the first thing that should be noted is that because this is for the control point maps, these tactics apply to both red and blue, as they can be either attacking or defending at any given moment. Once again, with that said, let's begin. In our last video, we discussed building placement for both offense and defense, in terms of payload maps, using Badwater as our model. This time, we'll go into the tactics behind building placement for control point maps, more specifically referred to as 5CP and King of the Hill. Furthermore, we will mostly be covering only the sentry gun, as the dispenser and teleporter tactics from part 1 also apply. We'll start off with 5CP. After the first engagement from both teams to contest the middle point, more commonly referred to as the mid-fight, both teams typically take on the role of either attacker or defender. The attacking team is typically the team that has at least 3 of the total 5 control points in a match of 5CP. As such, when playing the engineer, you need to position your buildings accordingly in order to cover flanking positions that the opposing team may use and to provide a fallback point to your team in case a push fails. While it will be difficult to constantly reposition your teleporters as each point is captured, you should always make sure that the first building you build as you leave spawn is the teleporter entrance. If your team begins to lose the mid-fight and retreat to your second point, the next building you should build, if possible, should be the exit. This way reinforcements can instantly reach the point to help defend it. Assuming the worst happens and your team is on the verge of being overrun and losing the second point as well, the first building you should always build on the defense is the sentry gun. Most 5CP maps have at the last point for either team extremely defendable, but also provide multiple avenues of attack for the enemy team. However, no matter which direction or how they storm the last point, they still have to capture it. Often, the last point can be protected by the sentry gun in a very easily defensive position. It's important to note that when building a sentry gun, it is best to position it somewhere the enemy cannot easily spam it down, or where it does not have a direct line of sight to any of the avenues where the opposing team can shoot it down easily. You also want to position it so that it has a direct line of sight to the control point, so it can protect it. By doing this, you ensure the last point will at most survive an uber push, as well as ensure your sentry has time to deal the max damage it can against enemies, as they have to deal with it before they can even get on the point. When you're on the offense as an engineer, your thought process should be similar to that of a defending engineer, but unlike how he must position his sentry, you as an offense have more leeway to where you can position it. As stated before, when attacking, you want to position where you plant your sentry, so that it covers a section of the field so that it deters enemies from flanking you. Now, one thing that this means is that on offense, you may often not have time to set up a proper level 3. Therefore, making the sentry gun level 3 should not be a priority, and you should only upgrade it after you've established your other buildings. For King of the Hill, the rule changes for offense and defense, as there is one point and your team is either attacking or defending a said point. Furthermore, the rule for teleporter changes as well, because attackers get a faster spawn rate and defenders get a slower one. For attackers, as engineer, your job is not to establish a base, but you should build a level 1 sentry to help support a push. For defenders, as engineer, you should begin establishing a base to help control the point, again keeping in mind the previously aforementioned tactics for the dispenser, teleporter, and sentry gun from all of the previous videos. Keeping in mind the same rules for each of the buildings from part 1 of this series, you will ensure your team is best prepared for whatever the opposing team tries. This intermediate guide concludes the common knowledge of tactics for an engineer to employ. In our advanced guide, we will call upon more experienced engineers to share tactics to think about. Until then, engineers, never forget this saying, where there's a problem, there is a solution. Similarly, you want to position it so that the potato has a potato to the potato point to ensure it potatoes it.